Hello, my name is Leroy Blevins. Welcome to Mysteries and Histories. Um, Sorry if it sounds like I'm a little congested. I am because the weather's been going up and down, up and down, up and down. My allergies are kicking in and everything else. I'm congested. But anyway, I want to make this video here because, people's asked me some questions about, my research and other things as well. So we're going to get into it. And I'm going to also point out some facts as well. As you see here on this map, I marked the locations where these researchers and other people place the gunman in the JFK assassination. As you see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16 locations that they're claiming that the fatal headshot came from these different locations. You see the Daltex building, they place them either on inside the building or on the rooftop. Now, someone asked me, was there a gunman on the rooftop of the Daltex building, which I'm going to point out a fact here in a minute. There wouldn't be no gunman inside of the Daltex building or on the rooftop, and I'm going to point out the reason why in a moment. Now, they place a gunman on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository, but they're not putting Oswald as the assassin, it's somebody else. Plus, they put somebody else on this location here, plus on the rooftop of the Texas School Book Depository. Then they place a gunman in between shelter number 3 and the picket fence, and behind the picket fence, as everybody knows, and in the sewer drains, they place gunmen. Place a gunman on a triple over on top of the triple overpass, and they also place gunmen over here on the south side. And now I'm going to zoom in, and you notice that they also said that Mrs. Kennedy shot JFK. These are the new things coming out. Driver Greer shot JFK. And then Governor Connally shooting JFK. As you see, KGC, Knights of the Golden Circle, that's who's behind it. I'm going to mess with you. But eventually they'll probably come up with with Kennedy, Greer, and Connally, KGC, Knights of the Golden Circle. Yeah, I remember seeing something like that in National Treasures, the Book of Secret, but, eventually someone will come across that and they'll say, oh, well, hey, man, the KGC was behind the assassination. I'm just putting that out there because you know how people are. But anyway, they got these Kennedy, Greer, and Connally shooting JFK. But like I said, all they're doing is telling us a story. Nothing more, just a story and a theory. Now, I'm going to point out some facts. I say a gunman was on the 2nd floor of the county records building. Now I tell you this. Now, what I show for evidence, I show an image of the gunman on the 2nd floor of the county records building with a rifle in his hand. I show photographic evidence. Now remember, photographic evidence of him firing a shot from that window, and photographic evidence of where that bullets made contact with. Same thing for the gunman on the rooftop of the county records building. I show him coming down, firing his rifle from that location. I also show the locations of where these shots made contact with. Lee Harvey Oswald on the 6th floor Texas School Book Depository. I show photographic evidence of him looking out that window at the time of the assassination. And I also show other evidence of his fingerprints and stuff on the bullet casings and everything else that show that he was in that location. And I also show that he did, in fact, take 2 shots that day. But then I also show the 2 gunmen on the grassy knoll, which is inside of shelter number 3. I show photographic evidence of the gunmen with rifles in their hands, aiming the rifles and firing rifles from that location. Also show the location where these bullets made contact with. Now, I want to answer the one question here. Okay, now, like I said, I point out photographic evidence to back up everything I say. It's not a story now, it's not a theory, it's facts, because I'm showing you. What I'm telling you, I'm showing you. What they're telling you, they have nothing to show. They're just telling you. So that's a story and that's a theory. This is facts. Now I'm going to show you something else. People ask me, well, if the 2 gunmen was behind shelter number 3, how did they fire them 2 shots and Mr. Zapruder and them wasn't jerking all over the place or jumping or anything else? Well, let's look at that for a moment. When we watched the Orville Nix film, we will see Mrs. Setzman right behind Mr. Zapruder. She brings up her hands and covers over his ears. Why does she cover over his ears? She covered over his ears right before the shots were fired. Why? Now, she was there because he had vertigo. If she was there to steady him, she claims she had her arms, or her hands, on his arms the whole time. You know, keep him steady. And she says if there was any shots fired from behind us, you know, that film would be jerking all over the place. Well, no, it wouldn't. I mean, there is a little jumpy in this Zapruder film, and it does blur out a little bit, then it comes back in focus, you know, when the two shots were fired from behind him. And I point this out in my research, and I show the photographic evidence to back it up. But in the over the next film, as I show you, she brings up her hands and cover up his ears right before the shots were fired. Why? Think about that one for a moment. Because if she's covering his ears, remember, she's got a babushka on, or I call it a scarf, but everybody calls it a babushka, a scarf on. So who knows, she might have had earplugs in her ears. And she was covering Mr. Zapruder's ear so he could stay steady filming. Okay, because the shot's about to ring out. So that was an advance to know that, hey, wait a minute, our gunman's behind us, so we better cover his ears so he don't jump around. But I'm also going to point out some other facts here to continue with that one. I'm going to make you think about that one for a moment. Now, when I point out my research, as you see right here, we have the babushka lady. Now, before we talk about her, I want to show you something else. As you see here, we have cameras all along here and on this side, you know, someone up here. We have cameras on this side, people taking films and still images and stuff like that in these locations here. And even here on the second floor of the Tech School Book Depository. But then when JFK's limo got to this point right here, all this filming stopped. But as you noticed now, you have the Much More film, the Nix film, and the Bell film, which these people run around from their locations. They ran around and start filming whatever else they can of the motorcade going down Elm Street here. And then we have the babushka lady already set in one spot. We have Mary Mormon in her location, which she took a still shot. Babushka lady looks like she took a still shot because she had a box camera. And we have Mr. Zapruder. Now, what do you notice about Mr. Zapruder's area and his location? He was the only one, mind you, that was in that location filming. No one else was around there with no cameras. Not even people here. Not even none of these people here had any cameras, any filming cameras or anything like that. Newman's didn't have no cameras with them. Mr. Zapruder had a camera with him, and he filmed the whole assassination. Only person that filmed the whole assassination. The only person that was in this location filming up high, not down low, up high, so he captured the whole thing from this point all the way to this point here. Even Bronson was filming from over here. He filmed up this way, and then he moved over some more so he could film the rest of this way. But he only captured so much of it as well, same as the Bell film, Nix film, and a Much More film. Okay, Mary Mormon, all she's going to capture is just the one still image, and besides the babushka lady. Now, like I said, when we look at these films, when we study these films, okay, I'm going to show you something which was really amazing to me. Was this. This is the Nix film, Zapruder film. See the bush glade right here, as I point out in my videos. There's next frame. This is frame 288. You notice there's nothing glowing or nothing shining right here. Am I correct? There's 289. 290. All of a sudden the lights come on. And as you see here, there's lights. Comes on by frame 290 of the Zapruder film. This is 292. And we see there's a glowing light. Now why is that light come on? And then when I line these films up, I noticed that as soon as that light came on, Mrs. Setzman's hands came up and covered over Mr. Zapruder's ears. The next thing I know, shots are being fired from behind Mr. Zapruder and Mrs. Sethman. And it's like, okay, well, let's go back to this map here. Let's pull this up. The light comes on. She covers up his ears. Shots start being fired from behind. As I point out, the lights was not on, and it's daytime. Why would you need a light on? It's daytime. It's 12:30. You know, the sun's directly above them. Whatever pictures you're taking, whatever images you're taking, you're going to capture it because the sun's glowing down. You know, that's your light. But she turns on a light. Why? And then as soon as she turns on a light, Mrs. Sethman brings up her hands, cover Mr. Zapruder's ears, and then next thing after that, shots are being fired from behind Mr. Zapruder and Mrs. Sethman from shelter number 3. Is that a warning signal? Because as I point out in my research, there was a man here on the corner of Houston and Elm to make everybody point up in the directions of where Oswald was, and as I point out in my research, I don't have it here, but as I point out, that was a decoy rifle was placed over here. Okay, which I'll, let me go back. I think it's in here, which I'll show this one. I'll bring this image up. Yeah, it's right here. I'll bring this image up. Then let me go back. Oops. Let me go back here. That's another video I'm going to be making here in a moment. But let's show you something here. As I point out in my research, okay, here's where they found a decoy rifle. That's where they found a sniper's nest. How did they find that sniper's nest? Because there was a guy down here distracting everybody's attention to this 6th floor window. So there was this guy down here to make sure that they point here. Oswald set up a decoy rifle because Oswald knew what was going on, because the guy was to direct people's attention to the Texas School Book Depository. Oswald set up the decoy so they could find that rifle by the staircase as it was coming up. That's why he placed it in front, because the elevator was on the 2nd floor. So he knew they had to come up steps. So they would think the steps was also the exit, because as soon as they come up, they would run right into that rifle and bullet clip right here on the side. Okay, like I said, this is a military hit. Everything was well planned. Okay, this ain't something that was put together overnight. Okay, so you got your guy down here warning, distracting people up here to look up in this location here. After Oswald takes the shots, he's taking the elevator back down, so he's going to go down as they're coming up the steps. That's what he figures, well, I come down the elevator, I'll be on the 2nd floor. While they're going up the steps, they're not going to see me up there. But anyway, now we have the light coming on down here. And then Mrs. Sethman covers Mr. Zapruder's ears. And then the shots ring out behind him. So we have a man here distract everybody to the Texas School Book Texas School Book Depository. So people be distracted from not looking over here. They'd be over here looking. And they won't be looking down here because he's saying, no, I see a gunman right up there. I see a gunman right up there. So everybody's going to start looking this way. And then these two gunmen here is going to take their shots, and then these gunmen here is going to take their distraction shots, but everybody's continuing on looking over here. Because we have now the warning light going off from the babushka lady. That's why no one knows who the babushka lady is. That's why the babushka lady disappeared after that day. No one's seen her camera, no one's seen her film, but everybody else is turning in their films and images except for one, the babushka lady. She was there to make sure the job was done, plus to warn people, the gunman that was inside of shelter number 3. Now, why wasn't there a gunman on the Daltex building, or in the Daltex building? If Mr. Zapruder was in on the assassination, why would they have a gunman in Daltex building where his company was? Remember, on the 4th and 5th floor was run by Mr. Zapruder. So why would you have a gunman in your location where they can come back on you? Remember, Mr. Zapruder was the only one to film the whole assassination. This is why I said everybody's a suspect when it comes to an assassination or a murder case. Everybody's a suspect. But there's a lot of evidence that's overlooked. When I start pinpointing these things, okay, you can't ask Mr. Zapruder question anymore. He's gone. Mrs. Sethman, she's gone. Most of the people that has anything to do with the assassination is gone. Only things left is their films and images and a story. But as I point out here, she's covering up his ears. As soon as that light comes on from the Babushka lady, she covers up his ears, and all of a sudden the shot's being fired from behind Mr. Zapruder. Mr. Zapruder was the only one to film the whole assassination. Mr. Zapruder was the only person in that location filming. Mr. Zapruder was the only one that had a good spot out of the whole Dealey Plaza to take the whole assassination. Mr. Zapruder bought that camera 2 weeks before the assassination, only bought one roll of film. Then after the assassination, gave the camera away, never picked up a camera again, never bought no more film or nothing. Think about that one for a moment. That's why I said there's a lot of things people's overlooking. Now, let's see what happened after the assassination. Oswald's being brought through the police station. Look at him. He's got his hands up, which I told everybody this is a Russian hammer. This is called a Russian hammer. He's telling them that the job is done. Because remember, whoever was behind the assassination, they wanted evidence to make sure that this job was done. Okay, as you see here, he's got his hands up like this. Now everybody can see he's in handcuffs. So if anybody comes up with the excuse of, oh, because you had handcuffs on, you showing everybody you had handcuffs. No, he's just got his fist up for a reason. Okay, because everybody knows he's going to have handcuffs on. But as you see here, he's getting warning to people. Mr. Zapruder, like I said, when he was there, when this guy turns here, newscaster turns, Mr. Zapruder coughs, and after he coughs, he brings his hand up like this. Brings his hand up just like this. Okay, now they said he's all shook up and everything else, but when I watched the interview, he really didn't seem like he was really that shook up or really distraught, as people said, because when you watch the interview, he was like, you know, it's like he was getting frustrated with him. Looks like Mr. Zapruder was getting frustrated with him because he kept on grabbing the phone and talking on stuff, and Mr. Zapruder's trying to talk and say, hey, you know what? I seen his head go off like this and everything else like this. The assassin was right behind me. He was getting upset about it. But then he changed the story later on down the road and said, you know, after the Warren Commission report come out, Oswald, Texas School Book Depository, 6th floor, that's where the shots came from. So he left it at that because he already had the evidence. He already knew. That's why he went ahead and sold his film that same day. He went to the newsroom right after assassination. He jumps right off the wall, which a person with vertigo is going to jump right off the wall. Don't think so. They're going to try to climb down that wall, and they're going to get real nervous for a minute. They got to stand for a second. But they didn't. He jumps right off the wall and walks away. He walks right over to the news place. They're trying to develop his film. While he's on the air, he's reporting his story. We have the babushka lady sitting there for a little bit, then she takes off, and no one sees her again. You see what I'm saying? Now, everybody in Dallas should know everybody, and they should know when this report came out of everybody turning stuff in, but she didn't. Think about that one for a moment. As I point out, like I said, there's a lot of things in the case, and I hope this answers some people's questions out there. There would be no gunman inside the Deltex building, because if Mr. Zapruder was in on the assassination, he wouldn't have no gunman on the Deltex building rooftop or on any of the floors, because that would bring directly back to Mr. Zapruder. Am I correct? So you see, when assassination, as I point out, this is a very well planned assassination. It really was. Okay, and it was a military hit. There was a decoy rifle used, okay, by the staircase, because he knows that's the first place they're going to hit, is a staircase there. So the decoy rifle was set there. The sniper's nest was set, but Oswald did take his shots from there. Okay, but you have a guy down here directing everybody's attention to the 6th floor so they can see that decoy rifle. Then you have the babushka lady sitting here warning the gunmen here to take their shots, and plus Mrs. Sessman to cover up Mr. Zapruder's ears, so the shots are going to get ready to be fired from there. She was there. Now, if the light didn't come on, maybe they wouldn't have took them shots, because she wouldn't have said the job is done. But it wasn't, so she turned on the light. Mr. Zapruder's ears get covered, then the shots start ringing out. They needed somebody there to make sure the job got done. So that's why they had the backup gunmen, and they wanted to make sure there was evidence to come out to show that he was done, and not that he went to the hospital, he was shot, he went to the hospital, and he survived. or, you know, they claim he died, but he didn't. He went ahead and put him in hiding. You know, they wanted actual proof. And the only way you get actual proof is by seeing it. You see what I'm saying? Not a story, but seeing it. So that's why those people there, they film here, because everybody's going to be filming, so that they're going to get away with filming. Everybody's going to be filming there. But we have gunmen right that close to Mr. Zapruder stuff, which brings up red flags. Mrs. Sessman covers up Mr. Zapruder's ears, brings up red flags. He jumps right off of the stairs, which is not on this part here. If I'm going to zoom in, and this one gets me when we watch the Bell film, he don't jump over. He don't come back here and get off the wall. He jumps right down in between these steps. So 1 foot lands here, 1 foot lands here. Now somebody with vertigo, well, he would have fell. He would have went ballistic off. But like I said, as soon as he jumps off of here, he starts walking this way. Mrs. Zapruder starts walking around. Mrs. Sessman starts walking around this way. He yells for her because you can tell she looked at him, and all of a sudden she starts following him. Then Mr. Zapruder's coming down this way, and he goes right off to the newsroom. Okay, and Mrs. Sessman ends up standing right here in front of the Texas School Book Depository the rest of the time. We can see this in films and images. That's why I said I pinpoint exactly locations of what route they took and everything else, so I know exactly where everybody's at during the time, after the time, and what's going on in the surroundings. And I can point this out. But like I said, we've got Mrs. Sessman covering up Mr. Zapruder's ears. Okay, as you see right here. There's two gunmen right behind Mr. Zapruder. Mr. Zapruder's the only one who could film the whole assassination. He was the only one filming in that location. And that's why I said there couldn't have been nobody in the Dow Tex building. Because if Mr. Zapruder was in on it, and Mrs. Sessman, and remember after he sold his film, and it was for $150,000 he sold his film for, he turned most of that money over to Mrs. Sessman, which is really surprising why he paid her a large sum of money. Okay, why? For holding him in place? For covering his ears? What? So see, them questions never going to be answered. But if they place a gunman in the Dow Tex building anywhere, that will lead right back to Mrs. Zapruder, and that wasn't going to happen that way. Okay, so I wanted to point these facts out to people and show people evidence. Like I said, when the babushkas lady's like, come on, Mrs. Sessman brings up her hands and covers up Mrs. Zapruder's ears. Then the two shots were fired behind them. Okay, you get that whole story when you line everything up and you analyze it and you place everything in those time frames and stuff. You get all that information, okay, because you can see what's going on from this angle and this angle and this angle when you line all these films up, okay, and you know exactly what's going on at that specific time. You see what I'm saying? But anyway, that's why I said when we line up films and images, we, like right here, today we have photographic evidence. We have the evidence. We have the proof. We have time frames now. We know who got shot by what gunman and their location and everything else. But there's a lot of things behind it that people just don't understand. They're too busy pushing these false stories. That's what gets me upset about this case. There's too many people out there pushing these false stories, as I point out here. When we look at this map here, which I'm going to pull both of them up, side by side, okay. Here's my locations, which I show photographic evidence of these people in these locations and the shots being fired, rifles in their hands and everything else. But look at these locations here. There ain't no bit of evidence to back any of that up. Just a story. But people's willing to buy into this than into this. This is why my research ain't really going nowhere, because people believes in the stories and stuff, because people claims that they're professionals, they're experts, or they was there, okay, or they was somebody's lover or something like that. You know, that proves that their case, because they got to be telling the truth because they was there, or they're somebody's lover, or you know, they said they was the assassin, so we got to believe them. But there's no evidence to back up their stories. But when I show what I have now, does any of these claims that was made here, does any of them talk about the gunman inside of shelter number 3? No. Does anybody talk about the gunman inside the records building? No. Or on the rooftop of the records building? No. Everybody's eliminating Oswald, but Oswald was there. Anybody talks about the manhole cover shots? No. Anybody talks about the grass area shots? No. Does anybody talk about the sign where the shot made contact on the sign on the lamppost? No. Does anybody talk about the distractor shot that hit the steps where 3 men was standing? No. See what I'm saying? No, no, no on all that, because they don't know none of that information, because they're not worried about that information. Right? All they're worried about is the 3 shots, how to cover the 3 shots, and make sure Oswald wasn't involved, and place his gunman every which way loose. That's how they do it. But I want to make this video answer questions and stuff and show people more evidence as well. Don't forget that like button. Don't forget to subscribe. Don't forget to tell your friends about us. Share this video with other people so they may know this information. Thank you, and you have a pleasant day.